Disclaimer: do not harass or attempt to contact anyone mentioned in this video. This video is solely for me to defend myself. I have no intentions of creating a false narrative or stretching the truth like the other party claims, so everything in this video will be 100% truthful. All screenshots will remain unaltered, all videos will be credited, and I will address everything stated in the opposing video. With that being said, sit back and enjoy the video. Hello everyone, my name's Rune, and today I'm going to be defending myself from the recent video that Arikado Zodan put out about me. I'm going to summarize my side of the events that transpired. I won't be going over everything, but this will get a little lengthy, so buckle up. Arikado Zodan is a small gacha game YouTuber who specializes in his commentary videos on various gacha topics, be it with the games themselves or members of their respective communities. He had made 2 videos about me, a video addressing my points about the Defiler boss in ZZZ, and a video covering my eventual departure from ZZZ content creation due to the backlash the Defiler video would receive. This video was very infamous for a couple of unfair and hypocritical statements that I would make to the character Seed, which would result in a lot of backlash directed towards me. Eventually, the backlash became too much for me to handle at the time, and I decided to take a break from making Zenless content. I made a YouTube post announcing my departure, which then sparked 2 people to make videos on them covering it. One of these people being Arikado, and another one being someone we will meet later. A day after Arikado uploaded his second video on me, I reached out to him on Twitter and politely requested that he take the video down. That video was bringing unnecessary attention to my channel again, after I addressed the criticisms in the pinned comment of my Defiler video. Arikado's video was also bringing unwanted attention to my most recent video at the time, a non-Zenless video that was an attempt to branch out into more video essay style content outside of ZZZ. When I had first started reviewing the comments for that non-Zenless video, I was confused as to why I was still receiving hate on a video that I made over 2 weeks ago, to which one of my friends made me aware of Arikado's coverage on my departure. The video just so happened to be uploaded on the same day, and would be an in-depth critique on the comments I made towards Seed and her faction, and how they directly attacked people who enjoyed those characters. He also mentions the few live streams that I had around the time of the Defiler video releasing, and the various comments that I would make about other groups of players within the community, primarily fans of the character Kamana Monoto. This video was unnecessary in my opinion, as I had already addressed the criticisms many people had about me within the pinned comment and have moved on from the topic by this point. So all Arikado's video did was bring back more hate to my original video and new ones, regardless of whether or not he meant well. So naturally, I reached out to Arikado to politely ask him if it was possible that he could take the video down. He declined and gave me his reasons as to why, stating that taking the video down will only further radicalize people against me, and advised me to take my own advice and step back for a bit. He added a bunch of other things that I disregarded at the time, since I only agreed with the fact that taking down the video would only incite more hate, so that was more than enough of a reason to stop prying at the time. Not really thinking much about it afterwards, I didn't want to incite more drama by threatening him after he said no, so I just moved on and dealt with the continued hate. After that, we went our separate ways, with me eventually coming back to the community a month after my Defiler video and continuing content as normal. Recently though, I had originally thought of making a video talking about the various issues I had with Zenless content creation. I was in a voice call with my friends and we were scrolling through my Twitter DMs to recall my few previous interactions I've had with CCs in the Zenless community. One of my friends pointed out my DMs with Arikado and asked me what we had talked about. I showed them the exchange between us and they read through the messages carefully. They were confused as to why I didn't press Arikado any further about this so-called information he had on me, considering that he blackmailed me with it. I was confused at first, stating that it didn't read off like that at all, but then my friend broke it down to me piece by piece. After analyzing these messages again, it had become very apparent that Arikado did in fact blackmail me. While it isn't too obvious by just looking at this, it becomes more apparent when you understand the context behind why he said this and what the supposed information he learned about me was. I DM'd Arikado about this and asked a bunch of questions as to why he said what he said, but the main thing that I wanted to know about was the so-called information that he had on me. If this information that I didn't know about was so important for him to mention in his reasoning as to why he wouldn't take down the video, then why was he so adamant on keeping this a secret instead of consulting me about the new stuff he learned? We'd been nothing but cordial with each other in the past, so I was confused as to why he didn't reach out to talk to me about these supposed things I did. Yet he felt comfortable enough using this potentially damaging information about me as a sort of leg up against me in case I actually did take legal action, despite me reassuring him that I wouldn't even if he refused. This is blackmail. And I will get into how his video fails to defend himself properly in a moment. After I asked for the information, Arikado stated that he didn't know and couldn't recall exactly what was said, directing me to his primary source for this information, Foxsoul. Similar to Arikado, Foxsoul was another CC in the gacha space that covered drama-related issues within the community. So naturally, he is a prominent figure within this story. I reached out to him while slightly annoyed, considering that I was now on a wild goose chase for potential defamation from half a year ago. Foxsoul was the other person who made a video on my departure, and considering that I was a little fed up with the fact that Arikado couldn't remember what was said about me, yet still used it to indirectly silence me, I got a little stern with Foxsoul. I politely asked him to recall what he had forwarded to Arikado, whilst giving him the breakdown of how I felt about the situation. I gave Foxsoul a time frame of Monday to respond, or else I would be taking action against both him and Arikado, with the action being the making of a video exposing the two for unnecessary blackmailing. The reason why I did this was because Foxsoul was currently missing in action from gacha content creation due to getting himself in his own personal mess with other content creators. So I wasn't going to sit here and wait for however long this guy wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh for in order for him to show his face again.
Like, I'm gonna be fucking honest, like, it's one of those things to which, like, I like ZZ still and everything, but I'm gacha out. Like, gacha is not about gacha games. Gacha games, the community I have enveloped is nothing but a bunch of fucking people who just want to have a fight.
I wanted answers by the end of the weekend, and I had to resort to threatening this guy to get them. Am I happy that I did this? No. But I didn't even get answers anyway, because Foxsoul also didn't remember what he had told Arikado, which made me very upset. He gave vague recallings of interactions that I was not a part of, and mentioned his conversations with past individuals and CCs who were upset at my video, but nothing more. At this point, I was very upset with the fact that I had done all this research, only to end up with nothing. So I gave him a piece of my mind, asking him to elaborate on who these CCs were and requested him to never talk about me or react to my content again. This is where the DMs regarding Arikado blackmailing me end, and unfortunately, I would not know what the supposed information that he had about me was. Until now. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, threatening people continues to jog memories, because Foxsoul would leak his DMs to Arikado, and Arikado would make a video about me, managing to remember every last individual detail of the rumors that he heard of me. Side note, if you see this image pop up here when we review Arikado's video, then that means the source of whatever he's talking about was parroted off of what Foxsoul told him. Arikado got tipped off about the fact that I was making a video from someone after I had reached out to him. He then proceeded to make a video talking about the situation first in an attempt to defend himself from my eventual video when it came out, calling this his preemptive response. The issue with this preemptive response is not only the fact that Arikado does a horrible job defending himself from the fact that he blackmailed me, but it also paints me as this vile and demonic sex pest for simply wanting to know more about the situations that happened. You heard me right. A sex pest. That's a little overboard, don't you think? I will be reacting to this video and debunking every single thing that he had to say about me, whilst also bringing up a lot of stuff from Arikado's own past, since he thinks it's fair game to dig around if it means putting himself in the best light possible. A lot of this video is him dismissing the reasons as to why I did certain things in an attempt to discredit me, while also painting me as this troublesome individual, someone who constantly gets himself into fights with people. This clearly isn't the case, and this video here serves to rectify this entire situation. Without further ado, let's get into it. Arikado starts off this video with a clip from my Twitch stream. In the clip, I mention how after I'm done working on a drama video for my YouTube channel, that I'd be taking some more time to pursue art. The clip continues and has me further explaining vaguely about what the video will contain. That clip was the tip that Arikado received and preempted him to make this video. The clip ends and Arikado cuts in with this very slimy and condescending remark.
Be careful what you wish for when you say done for good, buddy.
you could back up a little bit. This sets the overall tone of the video as a sort of gotcha moment, pun intended, despite him not knowing who or what the original video I was talking about was going to be on. He states that this video is a preemptive response, and he summarizes who I am and the interactions we've had with each other. Right off the bat, he automatically assumes that I'm going to create a false narrative of the situation and be completely dishonest.
This right here is what we call a preemptive response, as I have no intention of letting the other party involved in this matter speak first and paint a false narrative of what's going on.
This statement here, and the fact that he made a video first based off of an out-of-context clip that could have been about literally anyone, automatically tells me that he wasn't going to argue in good faith to begin with, which is ironic coming from him considering his past statements here.
My opinion, he has, that I feel compelled to make this critique in the first place. Secondly, I think it's important to understand that not all opinions one person has of another stems from malice or tribalism. Drama like this runs deep and spans across so many different videos that can go so far back as to be lost to time for the average viewer. If I get something wrong or misinterpret, I pray to not be accused of acting in bad faith. Will take full accountability for the error I make and hope that my message can still come across to those involved.
He also warns the viewer about the fact that he is going to leak DMs to defend himself, and states that I would have to do so as well to prove my point that he blackmailed me. And while this is true for if the video was going to be about him, in the original video that I had planned, Arikado was going to be on a much smaller segment of that video. I didn't originally intend on leaking our DMs, considering that I didn't think of him to be as important to the overall talking point of that video. But I had to now, considering that he did so first. Arikado recaps everything from the Defiler video being released to me DMing him about taking the video down. And here I will begin to play clips from his video and respond to them accordingly. First off though, I want to play a clip that I find pretty funny. And we'll come back to this clip every now and again.
It does not matter what you say or didn't say, people will spin it however they please, and you are powerless against this. Despite me being wrong about what you said in regards to ZZZ and fighting games, it's clear the truth did not matter anyway, as the video's like ratio remained higher than the dislikes. And other content creators who reacted to the video did not even bat an eye when the assertion was made.
Holy shit, dude. If like to dislike ratios determined you winning the argument more than actual merits, then you really did make this video with no intention of me responding. Anywho, on to his defense video.
In this same string of comments, he proceeded to say he, quote, won't pursue legal action in the event that I decline to remove my video. Quick side note, if you're not going to pursue legal action, then don't mention anything regarding legal action unless your intent is to make me aware of it in some weird act of psychological coercion. That'd be like me asking a stranger to do something and immediately letting them know I won't pull a knife out on them if they don't do it.
The main reason that I said that I won't pursue legal action is because I wanted to let him know that I didn't want any problems. You guys have to understand that this guy had made 2 videos on me, and they were both critiques that resulted in a bunch of negative comments about me from his community. If I was in his position, I would be scared shitless if someone I made 2 videos on came to talk to me about one of them, which is precisely why I said that I won't be taking legal action, so that I could come and respectfully negotiate with him. Also, if I wanted to take legal action against your video, Arikado, I would have already done so without making the effort to reach out to you in DMs, buddy. Trust me, you would have already gotten an email from my lawyer the day of that video being posted, not me pleading to you in DMs on my hands and knees.
I of course refused to take down the video as I believed I did nothing wrong, and Rune was merely uncomfortable by the attention my video gave him. Attention that originated from his own mishandling of the Zenless Zone Zero community at the time.
This is just incorrect. Your video on my departure was uploaded on November 5th, 2025, over 2 weeks since my Defiler video was released. I had already received any and all criticism and backlash from my video by then, so all your video did was reignite the situation and bring back attention to my video, regardless of whether you meant well or not. And the only reason you made a video outside of my community post was because Fox Soul had already covered it a day prior, so you thought it was okay to add more fuel to the fire. And yes, you can make an argument that the videos would not have existed if I just simply didn't make the YouTube community posts. But am I wrong for wanting to keep my subscribers and YouTube members who are paying money to see my content, who weren't in my Discord, up to date about what was happening in my life? I don't think it's fair to say that I brought all of this attention upon myself when you and Foxel's videos clearly had some influence to it.
as well as telling Rune that I was recently informed of new information, new to me at least, that painted my opinion of him further in a negative light.
That right there, that whole paragraph is the main reason why I'm calling you out on this. You could have omitted this from your entire response and I would have had no issues with you keeping your video up still. But Rune, how exactly is he blackmailing you? Well, my dear viewer, the first thing to note about this paragraph is whether or not it needed to be in Arikato's reply in the first place to get his point across. If the paragraph doesn't add to the initial point of him not wanting to take the video down, then he had no reason to say it at all. And if we look at the first two paragraphs of his initial response, he had already gotten his point across with the fact that removing the video would just incite more hate once people knew why it was removed. Everything past this point is just flavor text for the sake of being professional, outside of him informing me that someone else had already covered the situation. So there was no reason for him to tack this onto his response. Okay, but Rune, isn't that just useless information now? How is this exactly blackmail? Well, let's reread the paragraph for ourselves. I have also received new information from others who will remain anonymous that stack the odds against you further. I'm trying my best to not let your past mistakes color my opinion of you, but what other reputable individuals had to say don't look good. The definition of blackmail from Oxford Dictionary states, the act of putting pressure on a person or a group to do something they do not want to do. For example, by making threats or by making them feel guilty. Merriam-Webster also states their definition as the act of forcing a person to do or pay something, specifically by a threat to reveal a secret. The thing that I did not want to do was leave Arikato's video up. I wanted him to take it down and I wanted to go about it in the most respectful way possible. Arikato could have chosen to just say no and move on, but he decided to add this little tidbit that does three things. It tells me that he now has information that I was not aware of from unknown sources. His usage of the word mistakes implies that this information is bad and should make me feel guilty. And the fact that he told me this information unprompted after I asked him to take the video down, something that he didn't want to do, this is him holding his information over my head in case I decide to challenge him and pursue any further. That, my precious viewer, is the blackmail that I am talking about. And I will not stand to let someone like Arikato sit here and get away with it. Well then, Rune, it's been half a year since this happened to you. Why bring it up now? When I originally first looked at Arikato's response, his first two paragraphs were more than enough to convince me to not pry any further. I read the message fully, but I didn't think too much of the rest of the message considering that I didn't really care about the flavor text that he had put in it. I only asked who else had covered the situation, to which he provided me the source for. It was only after it was brought to my attention by my friend that I was blackmailed that I brought this to Arikato's attention. By this point, I only wanted to know what the rumors he heard about me were so that I can go clear them up with whoever started them. I didn't intend on making a video on this topic until after Foxsoul told me that he didn't recall what he had told Arikato, but even then, I was still reluctant on going through with it because this would be a big video that needed a lot of evidence and research to be done on it. Now that Arikato's video exists though, I have to defend myself from the false narrative of me that he's creating.
The information was a series of recounted interactions that Rune had with larger ZZZ content creators that would result in these very creators, and possibly more, distancing themselves with Rune, such as getting in an altercation with Flossin over his coverage of Soldier Zero Ambi before and after her buffs, protesting Kete the 7th for platforming St. Tontas during the earlier discussions of ZZZ's power creep and HP inflation, and calling out EO and ZZZ guide makers as a whole during Pridwin's more questionable tier list revisions.
Are you serious? The information that you blackmailed me over was a bunch of mindless Twitter beef? None of these situations were bad. They were just instances of me challenging other content creators about their opinions and holding them to the same standards that they had within previous videos and statements. I will admit that the only one that you could deem as actually bad was the tweet that I made about Flossin. This came off as extremely mean-spirited and I had no reason to be so rude towards him. But Flossin had already DM'd me about the tweet and was open to discussing my opinions on his content, to which I apologized for the mean-spirited comment and stated how it wasn't meant to be an attack on his character at all. We both had mutually agreed on the fact that we shared differing opinions and had a meaningful discussion about it in DMs. Afterwards, I deleted the tweet considering that the situation was somewhat resolved. As for Kete, I didn't even interact with him directly. I was a viewer in his second live stream that platformed Saint Tontas. And if you look in the VOD of that video, something that Arikado didn't do, you'll see that I was one of the few people in that stream that disagreed with the entire idea of this discussion happening. While Kere himself didn't invite Saint to the discussion, he still agreed to being a mediator for it, if you can even say that he did anything. And he willingly chose to stream the discussion to his audience, for a second time, mind you. I also wasn't a fan of the fact that EO got his name dragged through the mud, all because ALG, Kete, and NixGX were too scared to confront Saint about going off topic. Instead, they allowed Saint to keep attacking specific individuals rather than contributing to the discussion he was invited to, despite being asked multiple times to stay on topic. However, this is to be expected when you invite one of the most infamously known bad faith actors within the gacha communities to your chill discussion about a game that he has made very apparent that he hates. Also, Kere received multiple comments on the VOD of that stream, criticizing him for platforming Saint and not defending EO. However, this guy resorted to turning off the comments of that VOD and muting parts of the audio for whatever reason, all to maintain his neutral chill guy persona at the cost of throwing his friend under the bus. You could call me sensitive or emotional or whatever, but let it be known that I have never turned off comments on any of my videos or live streams. I only delete hateful and bigoted comments that have no business being on my channel. I am not above the criticism I receive, and I am willing to engage in it if it's respectful. It also doesn't help that ALG didn't learn shit from this stream, considering that Saint Tontas literally admitted to doing Zenless stuff exclusively to Drama Farm. On that same stream, mind you. And even after learning this, ALG would invite Saint again for a third and fourth time as if nothing happened. So again, I did not have anything to do with Kete or ALG directly. I simply voiced my disdain for Kete and his continued platforming of Saint Tontas and criticized him for it. Not to mention the fact that you sourced the wrong video entirely. That screenshot was of the first discussion that Kete had with Saint by himself, to which I didn't view until later around the end of the stream. My comments and statements about Kete were on a second live stream with him, and considering that you didn't even get the correct video about this topic right, this proves to me that you barely made an attempt to do your research properly and was in a rush to get this video out as fast as possible. And as for my tweet about EO, me and him have always butt heads when it came to opinions regarding ZCC. He was someone who I respected a lot when I was first starting out in this community, but as I got to know him, I started to disagree with a lot of his opinions on the game and general things that he did as a YouTuber. I don't necessarily hate the guy, but I was there to let him know that what happened to him on Kete's stream was horrible and that I was on his side. Also, I apologize to Flossin and EO for the leakings of these DMs, but I have to do so for the sake of defending myself here. Regarding the tweet that I made about him, EO had made a tweet discussing Trigger's viability after the Pride win changes, and it made me upset considering his past content has him praising this character. I had made my tweet, he responded, and we resorted to taking things to DMs, like normal people. We resolved our differences there with a 2-hour voice call. I again deleted the tweet after the situation was resolved, seeing as it had no reason to be up anymore. All of these instances are just me challenging and holding other CCs to their own word rather than bad interactions. And Arikado is making these situations seem bigger than they actually are in an attempt to make me seem like I'm this troublesome brute. Someone who gets himself into constant big drama despite the only controversial video I made being on the Defiler. And this is the information he was blackmailing me over, ladies and gentlemen. Twitter beef that was resolved literally a day later.
Whether or not Rune was in the right in any of these situations is not what matters. What matters is that all three of these situations were past examples of Rune creating friction within the ZCC community to a severity that resulted in what was effectively a form of soft excommunication.
Holy word salad. Anywho, it actually does matter if I was right in these situations, considering that you labeled them as mistakes in the first place. Not only were you not well informed about any of these situations I got myself into, you use these situations to make it seem like I'm problematic without knowing the full context behind any one of these interactions, both in the original DM and in this video here. This is disingenuous to the conversation, considering that you don't know the relationships I actually have with these other content creators. So you can't sit here and say that I'm creating friction when all I did was challenge a couple of people's opinions and decisions. And these creators never really distanced themselves from me because I wouldn't even say that I was close with any of them in particular to begin with. The only one that you can maybe make an argument for is EO, but even then, I distanced myself from his community before any of these altercations went down. This is yet another instance of you refusing to do your research and continuing to push the narrative that I am some troublesome, drama-hungry brute.
So when I say, I've learned new information that stacks the odds further against you, I'm saying that I now know you have a repeated pattern of behavior that lines up with your most recent backlash, and will not remove my video just because you keep finding yourself in hot water.
Again, repeatedly trying to make me seem like I'm this problematic brute. This is completely different considering my interactions with these people are not representative of my content as a whole. The Defiler video was an outlier from my usual content that actually exploded into controversy. Compare that to these bite-sized interactions that were public but barely made their way within their respective communities, and your argument holds no water. I am such an irrelevant person within the Zenless Zone Zero community that it is disingenuous to argue that these behavioral patterns line up with the decision making that happened which resulted in the Defiler video.
As for the reason why I was vague about what the information was in our DMs, it was because I wanted to keep the related people anonymous, as I was not present during any of these events during my time away, and was not certain on what I should and should not be saying out loud.
Then why did you mention them in the first place? Also, this stuff was already public and everyone involved is a bigger content creator than me, so I see no reason to be vague about this or even mention it at all, especially considering that you yourself literally state that you don't know what you should or shouldn't be saying in this situation. And I don't know about y'all, but if I was uninformed about something that I actually wanted to speak on, I would take the time to do my research first and ask questions. But Arikado didn't do this, and it's unfair to me to have gone through this wild goose chase thinking that someone had spread false rumors on me, only for it to be a game of Twitter telephone. And it sadly took me threatening Foxsoul with a video on him to get this information out of Arikado. He then comments about how the first interaction originally ended and brings up me DMing him in May.
Rune reached out to me again, asking specifically what information I had on him that I had refrained to reveal at that time. That, in and of itself, I had no problem with, though I had forgotten the details because this was about 6 months ago.
Yet the thought of a video calling you out caused you to magically remember everything that happened. Listen, I give most people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to remembering things from such a long time ago, but the fact that it took the act of a potential video being made on him for him to actually do his research this time, very poorly might I add you, tells me that yet again, he was not informed enough about this situation to even comment on it when I first reached out to him. This confuses me considering that the screenshots used within this video seem to be from a Discord server that specialized in covering drama, and considering how very easy it was for him to pull these bad boys up, I don't understand why Arikado would withhold this information from me. Oh wait, it's because this information wasn't from him. It was actually given to him from Foxsoul, and these images have to come from Foxsoul's Discord server, considering that these date back to 2025, and Arikado had made his own Discord server this year. And would you look at that, a channel that exists within Foxsoul's Discord that's labeled the official Gacha Drama threads. Look, I'm gonna let you guys come to your own conclusion for this one. Arikado would go on to then leak my DMs with Foxsoul, citing my threat as a big point against me in the screenshot.
Rune would proceed to press Foxsoul for the aforementioned information while accusing me of blackmail and defamation to Foxsoul. He also gave Foxsoul to the end of Monday to come forward, or else he would take action against both of us. Guys, this kinda sounds like blackmail, don't you think?
Actually, it isn't, considering that I don't have information on either of you that I'm holding over your heads to get you guys to do anything for me. It is a threat though, and I had to resort to it in order to get anything out of either of you guys. And look where it brought us. Now, am I necessarily proud of having to do this? No, but I'm not sorry for it either. I would absolutely do it again for the sake of defending my own name if the situation arises. My public image is one thing, but I am not about to have you guys lie on my name for the sake of your shitty narrative pushing.
Foxsoul would reply saying that he saw no problem with my videos and proceeded to reference Rune's past dealings with other ZZZ creators and communities to get him to understand where he went wrong.
Incorrect. Again, this is pushing the narrative that I'm known as some drama-hungry brute when I've already disproven all these situations that I was a part of. This is a result of him projecting his past self onto me because he had to go through a similar situation. So apparently, it's okay to criticize me for something vaguely similar happening because it happened to him, so therefore it should happen to anyone.
Rune was deeply unsatisfied with this answer and proceeded to accuse me of blackmailing him over nothing, guilt-tripped the both of us over the reputational damage from Rune's own actions, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm honestly just too fatigued by this whole fiasco to list off.
Look, I can live with the fact that I made a shitty video, but I didn't have control over these two making videos and the outreach that they would have. I'm not saying that they're the main source of my editor's blog or that they killed my channel, but it would be completely insane to not acknowledge that the attention that both their videos gave to my community posts didn't contribute to the backlash that I received. That's completely unfair to me. Arikado then proceeds to summarize the events of what he thinks happens.
Rune Blue Panda had a previous track record of creating friction with the ZZZ community.
Incorrect.
I covered his latest controversy and the fallout that came after. Rune did his best impression of Barbara Streisand and tried to get me to take the video down.
It doesn't apply here considering that not only did the original situation not become public until now, but I had also made it apparent that I did not want to take action even if you happened to decline and backed off after you did.
I told him no and attempted to explain why without revealing any names to keep the conversation contained to the two of us.
Again, why bring up these unnamed individuals if you wanted to keep things between us? You could have just left it at the second paragraph and I would have backed off completely. But no, you used the fact that there were multiple people that I supposedly interacted with poorly to try and silence me from pursuing any further about your video on me.
And half a year later, he comes back to me with accusations of blackmail and defamation and gives me and Foxsoul an ultimatum to comply with him or else.
I had to, considering that I was wronged by someone who couldn't even be bothered to do proper research on someone before guilt-tripping them into silence. Sorry, not sorry.
Rune Blue Panda is not a victim. He is an abrasive, emotional individual who cannot learn from his own behavior.
Oh, really now? I'm emotional? I mean, I'm definitely a brute myself, but I'm afraid it's hard to take your claim seriously when this is coming from the same person that said this.
The Gacha space in particularly loves to jump the gun on anything that's controversial and act on emotions rather than logic. And in these cases, it just clouds their judgment and critical thinking. Personally, I'm all for acting on my emotions at times, but people in this space go way too far with it, acting irrationally or blowing things out of proportions.
But Rune, this doesn't really disprove his point. In fact, he's not really being emotional here, just talking about emotions in a hypocritical way. Well, don't you worry, my sweet viewer, because I've got you covered here.
This whole situation is completely screwed, and my hope for this stunning visual experience and interesting world that Hoyoverse have put together is looking to crash and burn before the former two disasters even have to consider giving back an ounce of care to their player bases.
And while I don't necessarily disagree with you in this clip here, the point that I'm trying to make is that just because you're emotionally passionate about something, be it anger, sadness, frustration, whatever it is, that doesn't automatically make you wrong in the situations you find yourself in. The person who cries immediately isn't exactly the troublemaker or part of the problem.
He criticizes others for obsessing over fictional characters, yet his most defining trait is how he obsesses over fictional characters, and does so in just about the most overt, gross manner possible.
It's clickbait! Oh my goodness, the furries that play ZZZ click on these videos because I strategically craft them to be visually appealing to that audience. Also, if you couldn't tell already, I'm a furry myself. You are getting upset at a furry doing furry things just because the things that I put on my videos are not for you. And you know what's the funny thing? I find this to be hilarious considering that you felt the exact same way when people tried to criticize the fact that you enjoy lolly characters. You even stated the fact that the age of consent in your area is 16 and applied real-world laws that wouldn't apply to you in real life to fictional childlike characters because holy fuck, you are way too old to have Romeo and Juliet laws apply to you. So which way is it, modern man? Are they real and apply to these real life laws, or are they fake and justify your fetish towards them? Regardless, at the end of your AOD video, you told people who were not fans of lolly content to fuck off and leave you alone. So why can't you extend that same courtesy to me when it comes to furry content, especially considering that furry and lolly content are both marginalized and often ridiculed in online spaces? But I at least don't have to bring up real life laws to feel the need to constantly defend myself to justify my love for big, fat, furry men.
He is someone who's okay with joining a voice chat in Foxsoul's Discord server, enable his video, and proceeding to undress his furry VTuber model to those in the call.
Oh boy, this one's gonna be a doozy, y'all. But it's also good to know that even unnecessary information like this also comes up when you suddenly remember everything. This is the sex pest accusation that I mentioned all the way back in the beginning of the video, and allow me to give the context as to what exactly happened in that voice call. Now, it has been nearly a year since it happened, so my memory is a bit hazy, and you're going to have to take my word for it. I was in VR chat at the time when I saw a Discord call within Foxsoul's server. I was bored and decided to drop by there to see what was going on. People were talking about Zenless stuff at the time, so I decided to turn on my Discord virtual camera. As I was in a VR chat world, that was the closed beta test version of 6th Street. A little known fact about me is that I like introducing myself into new communities by showing off my full body tracking in VR chat, as it is a great conversation starter for someone as introverted as I am. I mainly stood around in Zenless avatars, trying my best to recreate the character's moves while doing funny voice lines. This went on for about 10 minutes before I eventually got tired from moving around so much. If you didn't know already, the little intro bumpers that I do with the ZZZ characters dancing is all me doing these moves in real life. Yes, that even includes the various scenarios where certain characters are throwing it back. Anywho, after I got tired and decided to rest for a bit, I changed into my normal furry avatar and decided to still keep my camera on. Someone in the call was very impressed with the way my Sonos model looked and proceeded to ask me many questions about it. They then asked me if I had any NSFW assets on the model, to which I told them that I did. They then proceeded to ask me if they can see it. Now, I wasn't opposed to showing it off, but I wanted to make sure that everyone in the call was over 18 and okay with it first. Thankfully, Foxsoul's server has an exclusive NSFW role that everyone in the call just so happened to have, so I figured that it would be okay if I showed things off briefly. And it was more so to show off the custom texture work that I do for all my models, rather than to actively expose people to NSFW content, because I take pride in how well my artwork is, and I'm not afraid to showcase them when asked. Now, was this whole scenario a little weird for a first interaction within a public Discord server? Absolutely. I will be with you there on that. Though I see a problem with this accusation here, considering that not only was the owner of the server, Foxsoul, in the call there himself, but he seemed to have been fine with what transpired in the call based on what he said after I DM'd him upon leaving. And considering that Foxsoul was okay with it at the time, you know, the main person who told you about the situation in the first place, then I don't know what could have possibly overcame him for him to tell you about this situation now. If anything, this seems like defamation that has nothing to do with the actual argument at hand, and was only brought up to continue to push the narrative that I'm some troublesome, drama-hungry, sex pest brood. And to be honest, I expected nothing less from someone like you, Arikado, a person who solely uses the like to dislike ratios to justify whether or not his argument is valid, regardless of how factual it is. So yeah, I did get a little freaky in Foxsoul's Discord server, but due to the fact that the server owner himself and everyone else in the call was okay with it, you can't magically not be okay with it after the fact, and try to use that to bring me down for something completely different. It is irrelevant information that does not help your case with the fact that you blackmailed me.
He cannot truly move on from his past.
Quite the contrary, actually, as I've been finding success in other games that you obviously know of, considering the first clip of your video contained it. Jokes aside, this isn't about the fact that I can't move on from my past. It's about setting things right. You expect me to just sit around and be happy with the situations that absolutely did not need to happen to me? No. That's why I challenge things. That's why I hold people to their standards. That's why you view me as abrasive. You never met anyone before who didn't take your shit because you're such a small creator that everyone you make videos on ignores after one interaction. Even if they give you the time of day, you still cry to your audience that they unfairly attacked you and play the victim, which just so happens to be the case here. Actually, now that I think about it, your obsession with the like to dislike ratio stuff makes sense considering that most people who interact with you no longer give you that attention you so desperately crave. So you cling onto your echo chamber of an audience and seek validation through numbers as opposed to actually winning arguments with cohesive points. But I'm just some furry who can't move on from the past, instead of wasting away my days reading Twitter replies for engagements. Yeah, I have dumbed down my content to lazily edited stuff too, but at least you'll see me actually playing games for usages other than B-roll. This is where Arikato's talking points on the video ends, and he proceeds to bring up multiple clips supposedly incriminating me further to continue to push his narrative. Everybody wrote off Jane Doe as a whore when the Apple scene came out, right? And people still think of her like that to this day. That character has not gotten any single bit of story content at all. But people still, whenever people think of Zenless Zone Zero, they always think of Jane Doe. And because of that Apple scene, they think of her as the slutty whore character. But in reality, Jane has a very good story and is a very well-written character. But because people were introduced to her with that fucking Apple scene, they were very uncomfortable with that. That's how I feel with C. Dude, you can't just put a red box around a comment that's agreeing with you when you're actively ignoring what I'm saying in the context of that clip. Within the clip you are literally providing in the video, I did not once call Jane a whore. Rather, I was referring to the public backlash Jane received when her character demo was released. The Apple scene was the main point of focus. So much so that the demo reached outside of the gacha space and was met with negative feedback from various sides of the internet. Once again, if you had taken the time to do your damned research, you would know that I uploaded a video critiquing Jade's moveset while positively uplifting her as a character in the beginning. Moving things back to ZZZ, Jane Doe was essentially my first mother agent for me. She was since then replaced by Tsukishiro, but this character still holds a massive place in my heart, as she was my first ever limited character and still is among one of my favorite units in ZZZ to this day. Forget sourcing Foxsoul on this one. I don't even know if you proofread this video at all, considering that you contradicted your point with a clip that you only watched 3 seconds of. And no, putting a red box around a message that you vaguely agree with doesn't mean that I'm suddenly in the wrong and everything within that box becomes true. Look, I can do it too. Where's my 69.1% like ratio? It's all shit from the same ass. Like...
Once upon a time,
Why does Pan have a fucking nipple ring? Why? Why is the first thing I'm looking at right now is a fucking nipple ring?
Oh no, a furry having furry gooner mods on his account. Boring. Also, this is weird considering that Foxsoul not only took the time to pause and call it out, but he seemed very mesmerized by Panyanhu's nipple ring to not click off it or fast forward past that part. Though, I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering he secretly got a thing for fat pandas. It doesn't help that he's also keeping tabs on my videos too, but you didn't hear that from me. He knows Monado got shooters. More like Monado has like some of the worst fan base in gacha gaming history I've ever seen. I've never seen so much not really ungratefulness, but more so just like bitter and then like extremely misogynistic, like way more misogynistic than like the straight people playing ZZZ and whatnot. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I am not about to sit here and argue this point when this image is a real thing that someone AI generated. I will forever stand by my opinion that most, not all, most Monato fans were extremely misogynistic towards Lucia, Yadhari, and Yishwan once they found out that he was an A-rank. And some of these people can still be seen today voicing their hatred for these characters when Monato literally uses one of these ladies as his main best-in-slot support option. Now I'm actually convinced that you didn't proofread this video because you contradicted yourself back to back. How can I be the same person that calls Jane a whore when 2 clips later you see me opposing misogynistic rhetorics and defending female characters and women as a whole? It's actually impossible for me to do so given the logic that you have within the context of these clips that you've provided. Absolutely insane if you ask me. I'm just a random motherfucker on the internet. If you let a random motherfucker's opinion offend you that much, then that's more so a problem with you as an individual than like me not liking the character. All right, time to get a little serious now. If you think that after all this backlash that I received on a video talking about a video game character can be dumbed down to just random people on the internet saying things, then I'm convinced that you lack severe critical thinking skills. I have had to delete so many bigoted comments, criticizing me for my identity rather than the actual content within my video. And I'm not saying that I can't deal with furry hate or homophobia. I've been dealing with this shit for years. But the problem with this stems with the fact that this happened in droves. No matter how tough a person is, they will eventually break at some point. And I know that some of your audience was a part of those original comments. And looking at the comment section of your videos on me now, I still see the same bigotry even to this day. So I ask you, Arikado, are you happy with this? Is this the attention that you were seeking? Someone like yourself who admitted to being propped up by Tectone. Someone who admitted that he tried to get close to St. Tontas for attention. And someone who got his breakout from seeking drama from larger content creators, even though he prided himself on not being a drama channel at the time. I hate to disappoint you, buddy, but my channel size isn't big enough to feed that ego of yours. In fact, we're approximately the same size, you and I. You could tell that this is the first time that you've encountered someone up small enough to address you properly. And considering how rushed your original video was, it definitely shows. I want you to listen very carefully right now. I am not going anywhere. My channel, my thumbnails, my persona, and even my hardcore opinions about Zenless Zone Zero. I have cemented myself as a part of the community, and you are going to acknowledge me. Arikado, you are an emotional, egotistical leech that clings on to any kind of validation he can get, that will spend no expense to twist the narrative in his favor to try and save face by any means necessary. I have spent months watching you become the very thing you swore to destroy, a St. Tontas clone. So I'll be damned if I let someone like you stop me from making videos in the gacha space. And to answer your question, big guy, originally, this wasn't the closure that I had in mind. But to be honest, this is a lot better than having you take those videos down. So I hope it was worth it. Anywho, I don't plan on going anywhere, but videos like this will be slow for me to push out now that I'm working again, especially considering the scale of this video. Oh my goodness, I am extremely exhausted. And before we go, as a reminder, please do not reach out to anyone involved in this video and attempt to harass them. I do not condone that type of behavior. Anywho, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my channel members for your continued support about me. I love you guys so much. You guys are the reason why I wake up and decide to keep playing ZCZ every day. As always, I've got to get started on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye. What's that? The apology comment I made on Arikado's video? Yeah, I'm aware of it. If it wasn't extremely obvious by the 50-minute video, I changed my mind. What's he gonna do? Try to take the video down? If he does, that means that he hasn't learned anything from this. People are allowed to change their opinions on things once they learn new information on them. And if anybody should know that, it's Arikado.